Thank you. Bonjour tout le monde. Hi, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be back here at Martin Ria because we know that Canada has always been a nation of builders. Strong over 500,000 workers, our auto sector has done more than build cars. It has built communities, livelihoods, and dreams. And behind every vehicle rolling off our assembly lines are Canadian workers with extraordinary skill. So behind every vehicle rolling off our assembly lines are Canadian workers with extraordinary skill, families whose futures are tied to good jobs, and towns that take pride in knowing that the world relies on the quality of what we create. Today, change, from trade disputes to shifts in the industry, is testing our workers and our businesses. But we know that for more than 150 years, Canada's auto workers have met every challenge with determination, skill, and heart. Et par-dessus tout, nous croyons que le Canada ne se contente pas de réagir seulement au changement, il le façonne. Et c'est certainement le cas pour notre secteur de l'automobile canadien. We are at a defining moment in our history. The question before us is clear. How do we protect what we've built while positioning ourselves to lead what comes next? And our answer is simple. We are an auto nation. We have the best auto workers in the world. And we will build the best cars in the world for the world. And we will invest in those who invest in us. So, without further ado, ça me fait plaisir de vous présenter l'homme de la situation, la personne qui va nous présenter la stratégie automobile. Without further ado, the Right Honourable Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister Joly, Minister de Bruzen, caucus colleagues. Let me just start. This is a great day. It is a great day. It's always a good day to be back at Martin Ria. I want to just thank the team here, Rob, Fred, Venkata, all the team here. This is an extraordinary Canadian success story. This is a great day because we're celebrating a couple of births. We are celebrating the birthday of Rob Wildeboer. Because of Flavio Volpe's many contributions, we are celebrating the birthday or the unveiling of the Aero 2.0, which shows what the future of automotive in Canada is. And we're celebrating the future of the world's greatest auto industry. We are here where Canada Strong is forged every day. This company, nearly 20,000 skilled workers come together to build the engine blocks, the transmission housings, the control arms, the future that helps drive our auto industry and our economy. And as you just heard, but you know this, you just heard from the Minister, this is a pivotal moment both for the industry and our economy. We know that U.S. tariffs have upended the bargain that's existed for as long as I've lived. It's put our workers, our businesses, our country under a cloud of uncertainty. We also know, you see some of the innovation here, we know that the global auto sector has been radically transformed. Rapid shifts towards lower emissions, towards greater connectivity, towards even more advanced manufacturing. So the decisions that Canada makes now will shape careers, communities, and our economies for decades to come. And we will not miss this opportunity. A confident Canada, like a confident Martin Ria, confident Canada is making the strategic decisions and the generational investments today to build the affordable, enjoyable, and low emissions automobiles of the future. As Minister Joly just said, Canada is an auto nation. The auto industry is central to our story. In fact, the first automobile manufactured here was in the year of Confederation, 1867, in Stansted, Quebec. Henry Seth Taylor built the first Canadian-made automobile. The Taylor steam buggy was powered by a simple coal boiler and mounted on a wagon wheel carriage. It was a one-off, hand-built machine, never intended for mass production, but it proved Canadian-made automobiles are possible. 158 years on, the auto industry is the core pillar of the Canadian economy. More than 500,000 Canadians wake up every morning, go to work, and bring home a paycheck because we make cars in this country. Entire communities have been built around car plants. Cities, towns, Windsor, Alston, two examples, the auto sector remains the largest employer. Aujourd'hui, l'industrie automobile canadienne est l'une des plus importantes au monde. Une grande partie de ce succès découle de nos relations commerciales étroites avec les États-Unis, établies au fil des décennies de coopération dans les villes automobiles des deux côtés de la frontière. There's no greater symbol of how closely the Canadian and American economies have been intertwined than automobiles. The average car is built from parts that travel across our border up to 8 times before landing on the showroom floor. 90% of Canada's finished vehicles, 60% of our auto parts are exported to the United States. But that trade relationship that once was a great strength has now become a serious vulnerability. Now, I want to be clear. Canada still has the best deal of any U.S. trading partner, with 85% of our trade with the United States remaining tariff-free and the lowest average tariff rate in the world. And as we prepare for the joint review of CUSMA that will begin later this year, Canada's new government remains focused on protecting this unique Canadian advantage. Our objective is to remove all tariffs in the auto sector to build the strongest North American auto sector. That's what we will build together. But we recognize that that is not the current objective of the U.S. administration. Their approach has changed, it's their right, so we have to prepare for all possibilities. We must take care of ourselves. Nous ne pouvons pas contrôler ce que font les autres. Nous pouvons contrôler ce que nous faisons et ce que nous bâtissons. Et nous bâtissons une économie canadienne plus forte, plus résiliente et plus indépendante. Nous avons mis en place de nouvelles mesures stratégiques pour les travailleurs et les entreprises dans les secteurs plus touchés par les tarifs américains et les bouleversements commerciaux. Ces initiatives aident les travailleurs des secteurs de l'acier, de l'aluminium, de la forestière et d'autres secteurs stratégiques du Canada à acquérir de nouvelles compétences. Ils aideront également les entreprises à s'adapter et à diversifier leurs produits. Our government has already implemented the most comprehensive set of trade resilience measures in Canada's history. We've moved fast, and we're already seeing results. Our measures have created and protected 18,000 jobs across steel, aluminum, lumber, and the auto sector. They've prevented more than 20,000 layoffs. We've unlocked almost $1 billion in private investment by small and medium-sized businesses. We provided income supports for more than 6,000 workers, with a total of 190,000 more expected to benefit, including in the auto sector. Nos travailleurs sont le moteur de notre économie. Alors que nous transformons nos industries face aux mesures commerciales prises par les États-Unis, nous nous assurerons que le travailleur canadien puisse avoir les outils nécessaires pour accomplir cette transformation. The future of the auto industry is increasingly electric and connected. And so to remain competitive and to realize our potential, we must develop the entire value chain for next generation vehicles, harnessing Canada's exceptional capabilities in auto production, including the world's greatest workforce, including globally recognized parts suppliers and leading-edge research and development. We'll combine these strengths with new battery supply chains that will power the future of mobility, reinforced by Canada's IT expertise, world-leading AI and robotics technologies, to position Canada as a global leader in vehicle electrification and autonomous technologies. In the coming weeks, our government will unveil a new electricity strategy to double, I'll repeat, to double our grid capacity, to modernize our infrastructure and to deliver electricity that's more reliable, more efficient, crucially more affordable for Canadians. This will enable Canadians to adopt low-carbon technologies such as electric vehicles while supporting the electrification and growth of our industries. With our deep talent, thank you. With our deep talent, our research strengths, our innovation ecosystem, we can lead the development of the connected and autonomous technologies that will shape the future of transportation. We will prioritize diversification, including new opportunities that will be created by Canada's defense industrial strategy to strengthen the industry and its supply chains while leveraging our existing trade agreements around the world. Les travailleurs et les industries du Canada sont bien placés pour saisir cette occasion. Nous réalisons des investissements générationnels dans les minéraux critiques, incluant ceux qui sont essentiels à la fabrication des batteries, pour garantir notre place dans les chaînes d'approvisionnement les plus importantes au monde. Le Canada sera l'un des seuls pays au monde à disposer de tout ce qui est nécessaire à une chaîne d'approvisionnement complète en batteries pour véhicules électriques. Nous disposons d'un réseau électrique propre à 80% et les coûts d'électricité résidentielle les plus bas et les coûts d'électricité industrielle le deuxième plus bas du G7. So, we have everything we need to take the lead in the vehicles of tomorrow. And we're positioning Canadian workers and businesses to seize that opportunity. That's why today we're announcing a series of strategic investments that will shape the future of mobility and advance manufacturing in Canada as part of a coordinated plan to build a stronger, more competitive, more independent country. Our strategy rests on 5 pillars. First, accelerating investment in Canadian auto manufacturing. Second, rationalizing emission reduction policies to focus on the outcomes that matter to Canadians. Third, strengthening domestic demand by making electric vehicles more affordable and reliable for Canadians. Fourth, establishing a comprehensive trade regime that strengthens the competitiveness of our auto sector. And fifth, protecting Canadian auto workers from the immediate pressures while helping them bridge to the future. So let me get into a few of those details, and I'll take questions. First, we're accelerating investment across the auto value chain. To support strategic investments by our companies, we're dedicating $3 billion from the Strategic Response Fund and $100 million from the Regional Tariff Response Initiative. This is capital that will help our businesses respond to those trade disruptions, help them pivot their operations, retool plants to increase productivity, invest in advanced manufacturing, and expand into new markets. In line with our Buy Canadian policy, the government will leverage these investments to maximize opportunities for Canadian suppliers, Canadian-made goods and services, including in steel and aluminum. We're also implementing the most comprehensive investment incentives for the auto value chain anywhere in the world. The new productivity superdeduction will reduce Canada's marginal effective tax rate on investment to 13%. That's more than 4 percentage points lower than in the United States. That means and let me be clear, this is very broad. It means businesses can immediately expense 100% of their investments in manufacturing machinery, in equipment, in buildings, in zero-emission vehicles, in clean energy equipment, in scientific research and development, and productivity-enhancing assets, including patents, data network infrastructure, computers, and beyond. Further, in addition, because this is in addition, to accelerate investment across the low-carbon mobility value chain, we're implementing the Clean Electricity Investment Tax Credit, we're expanding the Clean Technology Manufacturing Investment Tax Credit, and we're including a wide range of critical minerals. And we are reducing the tax rate for zero-emission technology manufacturers so they benefit from 1/2 of the normal corporate tax rate, and that is before these deductions. Put simply, we're making Canada the best place to invest, the best place to build, the best place to build clean. Our second pillar is to adapt our emission reduction policies to focus on outcomes. Canada will set a new, more ambitious, sovereign path to reduce automobile emissions. We'll drive down emissions by more than doubling the stringency of Canada's vehicle GHG standards by 2035, achieving the equivalent emissions reductions of a 75% EV adoption rate. We won't stop there. By leveraging new investments in EV production, consumer incentives, and charging infrastructure, we'll work towards achieving the equivalent of a 90% EV adoption rate by 2040. The more stringent emission standards will enable the Government of Canada to repeal the Electric Vehicle Accessibility Standard, so-called EVAS. Replacing EVAS with those stronger vehicle emission standards focuses on the results that matter to Canadians, while avoiding placing undue burdens on the Canadian auto industry. This approach allows manufacturers to use a wide range of technologies to meet the standards and to respond to consumer preferences in the near term, all while driving EV adoption over time. The third way we will transform our auto sector is by becoming our own best customer. Au cours des 5 prochaines années, les ventes de véhicules électriques devraient représenter plus de 40% de toutes les ventes de voitures dans le monde. Aujourd'hui, près de 80% des véhicules électriques produits dans le monde proviennent de Chine et des États-Unis. Le Canada ne peut pas se permettre de rester avec les bras croisés. Les véhicules électriques sont l'avenir et notre gouvernement est déterminé à faire en sorte que cet avenir soit bâti par des travailleurs canadiens, fabriqués dans des usines canadiennes et propulsés par des voitures canadiennes. In a strong domestic market, and we have a strong domestic market, we can buy what we build. And so the government That's why our government is launching a new $2.3 billion electric vehicle affordability program. Canadians who purchase or lease a battery electric or fuel cell electric vehicle will receive up to $5,000 and up to $2,500 for plug-in hybrids priced up to $50,000. To support the Canadian auto industry, this $50,000 cap will not apply to Canadian-made EVs or Canadian-made plug-in hybrids. And those incentives will only apply to vehicles produced in countries with whom Canada has a free trade agreement. We're also going to make it easier and more convenient for Canadians to charge their EVs, because too many Canadians worry about being able to reliably get charging on journeys, especially in rural and northern communities. To help fix that, we're developing a new national charging infrastructure, a new strategy, $1.5 billion of investment through the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. So wherever you live in Canada, charging your vehicle should become as simple as filling your gas tank. The fourth pillar of our strategy is to establish a comprehensive trade regime that strengthens the global competitiveness of our auto sector. Again, to be clear, Canada continues to favor a zero tariff regime with the United States in autos, because we know that will deliver the strongest North American auto industry. But if the U.S., through the CUSMA review, insists on some form of auto tariffs, we'll ensure that companies that sell vehicles in Canada are strongly incentivized to produce in Canada. And to support this objective, we will explore strengthening our automotive emissions framework through a tradable credit system that would reward companies that produce and invest in Canada. In short, companies that manufacture and invest here would earn credits, while companies seeking to sell vehicles in Canada without paying tariffs would be required to purchase those credits. Pour exploiter pleinement le potentiel de ces mesures, le Canada doit tirer parti de ces partenariats internationaux afin d'accéder à de nouveaux marchés mondiaux. Le Canada a déjà conclu des accords de libre-échange avec 51 pays qui représentent 1,5 milliard de consommateurs. Notre gouvernement poursuit dans cette voie et a déjà conclu 12 nouveaux partenariats commerciaux et sécuritaires sur 4 continents en seulement 6 mois. Our recent agreement with China will allow a limited number of EVs from China to enter the Canadian market, fewer than 50,000 a year in a market of 1.8 million cars. This will help provide Canadians with more affordable, energy-efficient options. At the same time, we expect this agreement to catalyze considerable joint venture investment in Canada with trusted Canadian partners to create new auto manufacturing jobs and strengthen the build-out of our EV supply chain. Finally, as we transform our auto sector into a global leader in electric vehicles, we're working to protect workers and businesses today so they can bridge to the economy of tomorrow. We're providing additional income support to workers and to employers through a new work-sharing grant, giving them the flexibility that employers need to retain workers and prevent layoffs. This has already helped prevent more than 3,700 layoffs in the auto sector alone. We're also establishing a new workforce alliance, bringing together industry, labor, training partners to address skill gaps, remove bottlenecks, and catalyze private investment. We're launching the Automotive Task Force to drive coordinated action between our government and the province of Ontario to build the cars of the future. We're breaking down barriers and working together across government, industry, and labor with shared focus on delivery. Ensemble, ces nouvelles mesures forment une nouvelle stratégie qui permettra à notre industrie automobile de faire du Canada une chef de file mondiale de la production de véhicules électriques. Et nous nous concentrons sur ce que nous pouvons contrôler et aidons le secteur automobile canadien ainsi que les travailleurs et les communautés qui en dépendent à s'adapter, à être compétitifs et à réussir. When Henry Seth Taylor built Canada's first car, he could not have imagined what this industry would become. The Canadian automakers would assemble the world's first affordable car, the Ford Model T. That Canadian automakers would scale up production rapidly to become the second largest producer of cars in the world by the end of the First World War. That in World War II, the industry would quickly shift almost entirely to military production, producing more than 800,000 military transport vehicles and 50,000 tanks to help win that war. These feats were the result of Canadian determination and ingenuity. They were the product of an industry that adapted, pivoted, and when necessary, transformed. That's what we must now do to build the vehicles of the future. Lower emission, autonomous, more reliable, more affordable vehicles. For a stronger, more resilient, more independent Canadian economy that creates great jobs here at home. That is what we are building together. That is a confident Canada. That is Canada Strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant passer aux questions. We'll now go to questions. We'll do 20 minutes of questions. First question, Najud.
Good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning.
Najud Amelise, Bloomberg News. 3/4 of Canada's auto production right now is from Japanese firms, and you've made efforts recently to attract investment from Korea, from China. So does the future of the auto sector lie with Asia and not the United States? And have you lost faith in the Detroit automakers to build in Canada?
Absolutely. One of the great things about the Canadian auto sector is its diversity. We have a wide range of partners. You're absolutely right that Japanese producers account for roughly 3/4 of the production here. They're major players. We have integrated supply chains across North America. In fact, more broadly, companies like Martin Ria. We are in active discussions with a range of potential new investors from a broader range of countries. Korea would be one example in the Canadian auto sector for Canadian production. And we are working with the Detroit 3, the major American auto makers, on retooling some of their plants, expanding activity here, and integrating there. Importantly, the effectiveness of the work with the U.S. auto makers will be impacted by the results of the CUSMA negotiations. We have a strong view that the most effective, strongest, resilient, competitive, affordable auto sector in North America is one where vehicles and parts continue to move across our borders tariff-free. That view is shared by the Detroit automakers as well, and we'll be working hard in order to accomplish that. If that is not the case, we're putting in place a series of measures for production in Canada, for Canadians, for export to the world.
Follow-up.
You said removing auto tariffs is not the, quote, current objective of the U.S. administration. And I know that you said that Canada prefers there to be no tariffs. Yeah. But do you think that tariffs on the auto sector will be here in place for the long term, at least through the Trump administration's term?
Look, it's a review of the agreement. Under the current CUSMA agreement, it is not consistent with having auto tariffs. That there are in place. We have matching counter tariffs. I think it's clear from the lesson of what's been happening over the course of the last year that the previous arrangements were more effective, and we're going to work hard to move back towards that, as is the Mexican government, as I think I can speak for the auto sector as a whole. It's given extensive consultations. That's what the auto sector thinks is in the best interests as well. That said, what we're doing today is robust to whatever tariff outcome happens in that review. The scale of the investment through the strategic response fund support, through those series of tax measures support, providing a better charging infrastructure for Canadians, incentives for Canadians to develop, to buy electric vehicles, as well as developing the entire supply chain from critical minerals through to batteries, all the way through to final vehicle assembly, including the IT components, the robotics, and the AI components of that. All of that is in the interests of a highly, highly competitive Canadian auto sector, irrespective of the outcome of those tariff discussions with the United States. Thank you.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Good morning, Prime Minister Nisha Patel, CBC News. Along with cutting the EV mandate, you've cut the consumer carbon tax, weakened a commitment to the oil and gas emissions cap. You're exempting Alberta from clean energy regulations and abandoned a promise to plant 2 billion trees. Do you still consider yourself a leader on climate change?
Absolutely. I consider Canada a leader on climate change and on focusing on climate change results and solutions. So let me enumerate what we're doing, and there is more to come. Minister de Bruzen is here and working closely with the Minister, and her responsibilities is environment and climate change. Minister of Industry, myself, a host of industries are developing our climate change strategy, which will come out shortly. But let's be clear what we're doing. And I'm going to start with what we're talking about today. First is establishing, through a huge range of direct supports and tax incentives, for the entire clean vehicle production chain, value chain, from critical mineral development, processing, battery infrastructure, through to tax incentives for clean manufacturing and the manufacturing of low emission and EV vehicles. So all of that in place, the most competitive investment regime by a mile for the auto sector, in particular for clean. So that's one. Number two, incentives for consumers to adopt EVs being put back in place. Number three, and a focus on the results in terms of the transition path of the industry. So we want emissions down. We're tightening by twofold our GHG emissions standards, and we're giving the industry the flexibility how they achieve that, whether through plug-in hybrids, EVs, more efficient ICE vehicles, there are multiple paths on this part as we ramp up our clean energy side. In addition, and I'm not going to make this too much longer, in addition, I alluded to this, I said it, and you will see it shortly, we are putting in place an electricity strategy, a good conversation with the provinces around this, to double the scale of our grid in this country, which is a clean grid. Finally, with respect to Alberta and conventional energy exports, the LNG exports from that are coming actual and prospective out of Vancouver are top quartile or top decile, lowest emission LNG. The oil, if we have an oil pipeline, which we're working towards achieving to the West Coast, it will be twinned with the Pathways project, the largest carbon capture and storage project in the world, not just making sure that that's low emission oil and gas in the production and transportation of oil and gas, but that we're creating an entirely new industry. So the point is, we are focused, we are dead focused on results, getting emissions down, making the major investments that we need to get emissions down, and in the process, creating more jobs for Canadians and a better future for our economy.
Est-ce qu'on peut l'avoir, sorry, en français? En français?
Quel aspect? C'est une réponse longue.
Environnemental.
Pardon?
Êtes-vous un leader encore environnemental?
Oui, le Canada est une des chefs de file en ce qui concerne les initiatives environnementales. On va doubler notre capacité d'électricité propre au Canada, dans notre stratégie d'électricité. Toutes les initiatives aujourd'hui pour le secteur automobile renforcent des grands investissements dans les véhicules de basse émission, comme les véhicules électriques par exemple, y compris la super-déduction des crédits d'impôt, d'investissement net et tout cela. Et puis, on des incentives consommateurs afin d'adopter des véhicules électriques. Il y en a plusieurs d'autres aspects, mais c'est un gouvernement qui est absolument ciblé sur les résultats. Un des grands résultats, c'est la réduction des émissions et ça nécessite des grands investissements ici au Canada pour des bons jobs ici et un meilleur avenir pour notre pays. Merci.
Follow-up?
Okay, one quick one. Was this new greenhouse gas emissions standard system modeled with the impact it would have on the environment? And if it hadn't been, did it get rolled out without that?
No, it was modeled with it. So I'll give you a sense. We are doubling, more than doubling, doubling on effect this standard. So we're moving from, on the greenhouse gas base is 172 grams per, 172, okay, confirmed, grams per mile of driving to about 74 grams per mile, okay? So it's a 57% reduction in the emissions as this ramps up for the vehicles in the country. So we look exactly at that. And what it does is it gives, during a transition period, it gives greater flexibility for the industry in terms of how they meet those reductions across their fleets, all the while where we are very clearly incentivizing investment in low, zero emission vehicle supply chain. So I won't list all the tax credits again. I won't list all the measures that are there, but it's including the charging infrastructure and others, because we know where the auto industry is headed. We're going to support that transition, but we're reducing emissions while we get there. Thank you.
Next question. Prochaine question. Arab.
Irep Çakır with Turkish Voice of Canada. Prime Minister, you're ambitious in building Canada strong. However, a weak growth in production and productivity is already a key driver of growing outflow of labor force, talent, and wealth from Canada. How do you assess this exodus? Are you concerned? What measures are you considering to address it?
Well, there's a number of measures. First, I'm not sure I recognize part of your premise about the exodus, but let me get to the core point, which is, and you're absolutely right, and the core issue for our country is to get productivity up. And there's nowhere more important. I'm in a sector, we're literally in a sector that is constantly improving productivity. And now we see an opportunity for a step change in productivity and market share, quite frankly, for the Canadian auto sector, all aspects of the auto sector. That will require large investment. And so much of what we're doing today, some of it's consumer incentive, but the large amount of what we're doing today is to drive very large investment here in Canada, everything from the $3 billion in the Strategic Response Fund through those tax incentives and beyond. That will help drive productivity. And I'm just going to link it back, I'll hand it back to you, to the general question on the questions on the environment and emission reduction. This government has a very strong view that lower emissions will be one of the drivers of competitiveness in the auto sector, in the manufacturing sector, in the energy sector, and more broadly. That process of moving towards lower emissions will help drive productivity. So there's a congruence of what we're doing on emissions, getting those results, and productivity and growth and jobs for the economy.
Follow-up.
Question. In the global shifting of balance of powers, Canada is turning toward middle powers, as you said, in Davos, for diversification. Do you see Turkey, a specific country, a crucial NATO ally, as a middle power with shared common ground for a new partnership? How do you assess potential cooperation, especially in defense and nuclear energy?
Thank you for your question. The first, let me reinforce a few things in it. One is Turkey is a vital partner in NATO, a vital partner in a very important and sometimes challenging part of the world. In addition, there is tremendous opportunity, and my MP, Sima, is here, Madame Akan is here, and we have a series of opportunities to deepen our commercial relationships with Turkey. I've begun those conversations with President Erdogan in New York, and we intend to follow up. That can include aspects of defense cooperation and nuclear cooperation, as you suggest. But it spreads much more broadly. I'll just make the observation that since we're here, Turkey is one of the leaders in manufacturing globally, and including advanced manufacturing. And there's areas where we can partner without question.
Next
Merci
question.
beaucoup.
Thank you. Prochaine question.
Hey, good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning.
Colin DeMello from Global News. So the purchase incentives, as you mentioned, only apply to countries with a free trade agreement. Can you confirm that the 49,000 EVs imported from China, those will not be eligible for the rebate? And is it your expectation that provinces should match the federal incentive?
First, the answer to your first question is that is correct. They will not apply to the Chinese vehicles. It's not something we discussed with the Chinese arrangement. I will remind that under the agreement with China, that 49,000 vehicles, very quickly they get to a position where half of those vehicles are priced at 35,000 or less. So, you know, the incentive is in the price, if you will. That's first point. And then the second part of your question, with the provinces, we haven't discussed that specific aspect with the provinces. I'll leave it to the provinces to make those decisions. I will say, Minister Joly has helped lead this. We have been, as you would expect, in very close, constant discussions with the province of Ontario. There's many examples of that, including the auto strategy. Premier Ford and I have had a number of conversations about this package, and it's consistent. Obviously, the Premier will speak for himself, but we are aligned both in the fundamental importance of this industry and the direction of the measures we're taking to build it even stronger. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The U.S. president has obviously said that he wants to move auto assembly to the United States while Canada can continue to focus on parts. Your announcement today of a tradable credit system seems to suggest that you are acutely concerned about the future of that sector. Can Canada realistically come away from the CUSMA review with the domestic auto assembly fully intact as it is today?
Well, look, in an industry as dynamic as autos, it's constantly being reinvented. There's changes. There's always changes in market share and investment and competitiveness, and that's why the best companies adapt. First thing. Secondly, as I say, our view is a zero tariff regime is the best solution for the United States. Very much for Canada. We work for Canada, but it's also the best solution for the United States and Mexico. We'll work hard for that. You're right. The president has made that. That's his current view and preference. In that event, we're looking at this tradable credit system that will further incentivize production here, which is the right thing to do in that world. But also the very large investments that we're talking about across the auto value chain that is going to make our industry world leading, regardless of the outcome with the United States.
Good morning.
Next question, Barbara.
I'm sorry. Oui, en français là-dessus.
En français, en ce qui concerne, ouais, c'est clair pour le moment l'objectif du président des États-Unis en ce qui concerne la répatriation, si je peux dire comme ça, la répatriation de assemblage final des automobiles. Premier point. Deuxièmement, n'importe quel résultat de la revue de l'ACM, nous avons une stratégie maintenant qui va encourager des très grands d'investissements à une échelle majeure pour le secteur qui va rendre notre secteur plus compétitif, plus productif, plus de jobs ici.
We'll have time for one last question, Barbara.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Barbara with iPolitics. Premier Ford is not here with you today. Does that mean that he doesn't support this strategy?
The Premier will speak for himself. We've been spending a lot of quality time together, the Premier and I, recently, whether it's at lunch or discussions at his home on a number of issues, including very much this issue in preparation for today's announcement. We spoke at length yesterday, the Premier and I. We saw each other the day before. A lot of time for the Premier, but there's only so much time I want to spend with the Premier of Ontario. No, just kidding. Premier will speak for himself. We're very aligned on these measures. This is a good, look, I'll finish where I started. This is a great day. This is a great day. This is what a confident country does with a confident company, with confident, where's Flavio, the advanced manufacturer? There he is, hiding in plain sight. Advanced manufacturer producing the Aero 2.0, all Canadian parts, pointing to the future. We're celebrating the founder's birthday. We're moving forward. Premier Ford, the Government of Canada, and all our companies. I guess you have a follow-up, is that right? Or?
Last follow-up, Barbara, go ahead.
Thank you. Even with former government policies, it was uncertain that Canada would hit its emission reduction targets. What would you say to Canadians who might think there's no way this more gentle approach is going to deliver those emission reductions?
Well, the first thing is that in terms of our overall climate policy, as I say, in the coming weeks, we'll be releasing our climate competitiveness strategy, so we'll have more to say at that point. The second is this is a government that is relentlessly focused on results, relentlessly focused on the types of investments that are going to reduce emissions and create jobs, make the country more competitive. So that is what this entire pack, and this is integrated. This all is self-reinforcing. Incentives for consumers, building the clean auto supply chain, doubling the size of our clean grid, a trade strategy that reinforces all of that. All of that works together, create jobs, grow our economy, reduce emissions.
Merci.
Alors, dernière question, très rapidement.
Est-ce qu'on peut vous avoir en français sur Ford, pourquoi il n'est pas là aujourd'hui avec vous, pour être support votre
Il y a, alors, c'est pour le Premier ministre Ford de répondre directement, mais il n'y a pas de message. Nous sommes absolument alignés en ce qui concerne ce secteur. Nous avons eu plusieurs discussions, moi et lui, Madame Joly et lui, plus récemment, la semaine passée. Nous avons une stratégie de collaboration entre la province et le gouvernement fédéral. Premier point. Deuxièmement, j'ai eu des conversations, comme je viens de dire, la semaine passée en ce qui concerne les mesures. J'ai rencontré le Premier ministre Ford jeudi la semaine passée à Ottawa. Je l'ai vu à Ottawa il y a 2 jours. J'ai eu une longue conversation téléphonique avec lui hier. Nous sommes alignés, nous sommes dédiés au secteur automobile en Ontario, au Canada, et nous sommes très confiants pour l'avenir, pour ce secteur et pour les travailleurs, les grands travailleurs de ce secteur. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you. This was an entire press conference.